they awarded $2.3 billion for these hostages by North Korean regime. Based on what they have decided this time, I think Biden is taking actual more stricter measure against North Korean regime. Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Yeonmi Park. I'm a North Korean de facto human rights activist. So today in this video guys, I'm going to talk about something very important. So please stay with me till the end. Because now actually I'm about to become a citizen of the US in a few months. It is quite a shame to me, and it's a sorrow for me to know that most of Americans do not know about USS Pueblo incident. As a North Korean, believe it or not, when we go to school, the first thing we learn is actually about the USS Pueblo incident.
The situation of the captured ship USS Pueblo, as grave as it was, must be handled with restraint.
January of 1968, the U.S. military had sent a spy ship, a very small, reconfigured ship, to the waters off North Korea's east coast to see what kind of naval activity North Korea was up to, and also to see what kind of activity the Soviet Union was up to in those waters. The crew of 82, because one of them did die in the fight, they were in North Korean captivity for 11 months while these negotiations for the release dragged on. 11 months that they say was just pure literal torture, where they were beaten, kept in extremely harsh conditions.
This is when in 1968, January 23rd, the US Navy ship spy ship was in the international water and trying to investigate what the Soviet Union was up to, what North Korea was up to, and got captured by North Koreans. And there were 83 soldiers in that Navy ship. One died during the battle, and 82 members were captured by North Korean and moved to the port city Wonsan, and they were detained for 11 months. During that 11 months, they've gone through so much torture, beaten, threat, and unbelievable isolation from the rest of the world. Before they were captured, they were asking for help from the US, and they were not able to help them out. So the trauma they've gone through is unbelievable incident. And North Korea, the interesting is that still keeping that ship, the Pueblo, in North Korea, in Pyongyang, in the museum, as a proof that North Korea is gonna win the war against the USA. Because it was the very first time in 160 years the American Navy ship was ever captured, and like that. So, when North Koreans go to school, literally we learn about Pueblo the first grade that we do. And when I came to the US, and nobody knew what this thing was, and I couldn't believe that these guys were your men, like 83 men were being captured by North Koreans, and how Americans have no clue about what North Koreans regime did to the American people. So now I'm gonna unpack this, is because this incident became very important again, especially in the last few weeks. So even in 2018, when Trump, before he met with Kim Jong-un, that's when the Otto Warmbier, the American university students, got sent to North Korea as a tourist, and he was accused of being a CIA spy, and he went through torture for 17 months. And came home as a vegetable state, and 2 days later, as soon as he got to States, he passed away. So the US court ordered North Korea to pay $500 million to Otto's parents. And of course, North Korea refused to pay that money. America captured the ship by North Korea, and I think somehow that's how they paid the family. But this time also, around this time, the Pueblo, the survivors and the family members, these 82 soldiers were captured, and think about what the families went through for the 11 months. That was also a lot of trauma these soldiers, after they released and came home, some of them, they got divorced. They were not able to see their children. They would still have so much nightmares. So really their life was forever affected after North Korean capture. And they asked the US to also compensate them, and they were giving out $15 or $16 million for captains in the ship, but not to all the survivors. This time, these survivors filed against North Korea again. And the US, I mean, it's such amazing news. They awarded $2.3 billion for these hostages by North Korean regime. So this is another point to I think, Biden administration. So when the Trump was in the office, and there were lots of love letters between like North Korean regime, Kim Jong-un and Trump were sending to each other, and Trump had, of course, very non-traditional approach to deal with the dictatorship, and it made everybody, including myself, in awe and disgust and surprise, all of the feelings you can imagine. As a defector, I'm fighting for my people's freedom. Seeing one day Trump was saying he's gonna, like calling Kim Jong-un rocket man and bragging that his nuclear weapon is bigger than Kim Jong-un's, and the other day he's saying like, Kim Jong-un sent me a lovely letter, in the love letter that we are in a complete good terms, and like, what do you do in that scenario? Biden back then was very vocal about he wanted to fight for human rights for North Korean people. He would take a different steps when he came to deal with North Korea. And probably I think this is a sign that Biden is taking. I don't think Biden is taking any easier step on North Korean regime, which is a wonderful thing. Because in South Korea, as soon as the Democrat, more like liberal side comes in, they are always more sympathetic to socialists and dictators and communists. And I mean, for sure I was worried about that. I really thought Biden would come in and remove North Korea as a terrorist country, and then be more treating them like equal partners. But however, based on what they have decided this time, I think Biden is taking actually more stricter measure against North Korean regime. And of course, we gotta spend more time to see it. I'm still like disappointed that while Biden is making all these statements about the even refugees that are coming from southern border in America, that he cares about all these people, the invisible people and the victims. And however, he hasn't made any one single statement for North Korean people. So, I am disheartened still by him, but, it is a good thing that these heroes, like 82, and including the one who passed away, 83 members of this incident, and their family members, what they've gone through is still being paid and being compensated by the US government. And I think this is such a good sign to show to North Korean regime that the US stands with their own people. The horrible thing about after this incident is that what the US did is they literally had to make apology to North Koreans. And they were even in the 1980s, they were thinking about even going to nuclear war with North Korea, but they didn't. And they did draft an apology to North Koreans, and with that price being paid, North Korea was agreeing to give these soldiers back to them on the Christmas Eve. And I don't think being weak against dictator is ever such a good thing. I hope that America back then was like strong and stood up for their values, and didn't let this dictatorship to grow up, became who it is, right? Like the hardest truth that we need to accept right now in North Korea is becoming more like Chinese Communist Party. At some point, it's gonna be too big to fail that we can't control it, and we gotta put up with it for the rest of our lives, and we don't know where that's going to lead to us. So, and yeah, to end this video, there was such a incredible news out of North Korea, because this is the only thing possible, because it's North Korea. So last videos I talked about how the foreigners in North Korea can't even find the sugar or bananas, the basic groceries to survive, and most of the diplomats had to force to leave, like France, Germany, UK, all of them left, and the last two embassies were left were Russians and Chinese and few East Asians. And Russian embassy in Pyongyang were also forced to leave because they couldn't really survive in North Korea anymore right now. That how they left North Korea to Russia was through hand push trolley, literally. So they were taking trains and buses for over 30 something hours with their 2-3 years old daughter to the border town of North Korea, and from there was no train going between North Korea and to the rest of the world. They used a hand push trolley. Their secretary pushed it, and when the trolley got into Russian side, on the border side, Russians came with the cars and trains and took them back to I think Moscow. So North Korea has been ever more isolated, and we have no even clue that what's happening in that completely locked land. So anyway, I hope that if you did not know about this Pueblo incident, that I hope this was your opportunity to know about more of a history and the relationship between North Korea and America. And it is also time to celebrate for these soldiers that what they have gone through has been acknowledged in American government, and their sacrifice didn't go just vanish. That we honor them and we appreciate them. So thank you guys for watching, and I look forward to seeing you all next time. Bye guys.